Yo, there's no way he just said this. Steve Kerr reveals the wild truth on Kuminga in a new interview. And I mean, it's clear this fool Steve Kerr hates Kuminga and just wants him off the team at this point. Or are the Warriors trying to tank Kuminga's value even further? That'd be dumb right now. But in today's video, I'll break down the latest comments on Steve Kerr about Jonathan Kuminga and the impact this will all have on the Warriors offseason. Hi, I'm Arthur Ballesteros. This is Warriors Digest. Check out this video I'm about to break down for you. And if you're into it, hit subscribe. We bring you daily videos breaking down everything going on with the Warriors offseason every day. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what's going on because Steve Kerr just hit the media up on a Jonathan Kuminga slander tour. He went on to say in a podcast, Jonathan Kuminga is not the type of player that he would play heavy minutes at the moment if he wants to win games. Damn. Shots fired, basically saying, fool, you are not a winner. So this all came from a Tim Kawakami article. Tim Kawakami, he's been following the Warriors in the Bay Area here since the 90s. He really is an insider, knows what he's talking about. He got Steve Kerr to sit down with him on this podcast where they talked about Kuminga, Butler, and the Curry partnership and his own future, which I'm going to get to because if you hate Steve Kerr, stick around because he's going to give you some insight on when he might be leaving. I know a lot of people have been calling for that. You let me know. Do you think Steve Kerr should be fired or quit over this Kuminga situation? Because it's getting heated and you know that this is going to go on in Warriors lore and legacy for years to come. This is a true turning point in the organization. But this is what Steve says in the interview. It's tricky because Jonathan obviously is gifted and wants to play a bigger role and wants to play more. And for me, I've been asked to win. And right now, he's not a guy that I can say I'm going to play 38 minutes with the roster that we have, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, and put the puzzle together that way and expect to win. God damn. He says, I can't win with you, fool. Jonathan, you suck. I can't win with you. That's basically what he's saying. He goes on to expand here. All I do is try to win. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to be happy, whether it's the fans or the players or management, whatever. It's just I've got to do what I think is best. He said, is this my way or the highway? But dude, let me tell you this. Steve Kerr wasn't done ripping him. He said, I think right now he's a ball dominant player. 92nd percentile in usage rate this year in the NBA. He went and quoted the stats. That's how petty he's being right now. Why is Steve Kerr coming out into the media right now and quoting these stats? Are the Warriors trying to tank his value so they can sign him for less? I don't think that's a good idea, and I'll tell you why in a second here. But he says that's really high on a team with Steph and Jimmy. I mean, honestly, Steph's going to have the ball. Jimmy's going to have the ball, and so the fit is tricky. There's no question. This is no different than what he's been saying. He's just going into a little bit more detail here, but the quoting of the usage stats. So what is the usage rate? What does it reveal? Let me show you. Shot dominance. That is primarily what Steve Kerr has an issue with, that the higher usage rate suggests that a player is more likely to end possessions by taking shots or getting fouled. Meaning, Kuminga is shooting the ball more often when he's on the floor alongside Steph and Jimmy, and Steve Kerr doesn't like that. They came out earlier in the week quoting, saying that Steve Kerr was mad. Logan Murdoch of The Ringer had the interview and the quote there where he said Steve Kerr was pissed because Kuminga was choosing his own shot over Steph's. That's essentially been the crux of the problem for a while here, at least one of the excuses for it. So anyway, I digress here. Steve Kerr, he wasn't done ripping him. Tim Kawakami, who wrote the article, he wasn't done ripping him either. He did say that, Kuminga, of course, as we know, has fans within the front office. Joe Lacob, the owner, loves him. He's only 22. The talent is abundant and obvious. But he goes on to rip him by saying that the Warriors, despite Kuminga leading the Warriors in scoring in the Minnesota series with Steph out, he had a negative 15.8 net rating in the playoffs and was negative 49 overall in plus or minus. Basically saying, yeah, he puts up points, but it doesn't equate to winning. And that has been the knock on Kuminga for a long time from Warriors fans, from Steve Kerr. He doesn't fit in the offense. I want to know what you think. Also in the interview, Tim Kawakami asked Steve Kerr, are you going to be leaving anytime soon, basically? And while Curry, Butler, and Draymond all signed for the next 2 seasons, Kerr's most recent extension expires after next season, but he reiterated that he has zero concerns about the situation and he's happy to let things naturally, just play out after next season. He's not looking to go anywhere. He's not getting fired. So let's just put that to rest, at least for one season. Now, if he absolutely blows this upcoming season up, then I think everything is on the table here. But Kerr went on to say, if they want me back, I would probably say yes. He said, how could I say no to the Warriors and Steph and Draymond? Interesting that he only mentions those two. I'd suspect he only wants to stick around as long as they're around because he's isolated himself from every other young player on the team. Obviously, this is the end of the Jonathan Kuminga era in Golden State, and it's not hard to see. A sign and trade is most likely going to happen here. The fact that they're publicly slandering him at this point, I don't think it's wise to tank the value right now because it actually probably benefits them a little bit more if they get a little more of a higher value for him in the sign and trade, sign him to something around $30 million because then you can just flip him for more assets. I don't know, just a thought. It's just crossing my mind right now. I haven't looked at the financials. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but just doesn't totally make sense to me right now to tank his value unless you actually want to keep them or keep him, which they don't. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying these things publicly. This is messy, and I think it's just going to get messier. I'm going to have to monitor the situation. Oh, but there's a lot more going on. Hold on. Demarcus Cousins is ripping Steve Kerr publicly, saying that the Warriors head coach doesn't handle young talent well. He went on to say this in an interview earlier this week. Steve Kerr ruined that relationship with Jonathan Kuminga with the DMPs. He just doesn't handle young talent well. He doesn't develop. He did go on to say that, outside of Jordan Poole, also a lot of people have been pointing out that Draymond Green was kind of a project of his. I know that a lot of other people like to say Steve Kerr inherited, these youngsters, Steph, Dre, Clay from Mark Jackson, and he's really the architect behind them. But I mean, who won 4 championships with him? It was Steve. Anyway, I digress. Also, what does Demarcus Cousins know about Steve Kerr developing young talent? He came to the Warriors as old, damaged talent, and now he's just old, bitter talent. But anyway, moving along here in the story. Also, did you hear? Moses Moody, he had surgery today. A lot of us have been clowning him and down on him because of his playoff performance. I remember there was like multiple 0 for 5 from the field. Yeah, I think he had 12 points in the elimination game against Minnesota, but that was in garbage, desperation time. But anyway, why was Moses Moody not doing well? Oh, he had like some sort of torn UCL in his right thumb. He had surgery. This was the breakdown on it. They say it's unclear when he sustained the injury. Now, I remember multiple games during the playoffs seeing it wrapped. I didn't think too much of it, but maybe we should have thought more of it because it was on a shooting hand. Unclear when he sustained the injury. He did struggle a bit during the playoffs. He lost a spot in the rotation. Steve Kerr's doghouse again, another victim of it. I mean, every young player has been through it. He did play 12 playoff games, but he only shot 35%. Now we know why. He had a torn thumb. So just think about that next time you want to rag on somebody. You never really know what's going on behind with that person. There may be extenuating circumstances. Like I do believe with the Jonathan Kuminga and Steve Kerr situation, I think that there's still a lot more. And I've been saying this for like 2 months. There's going to be a lot more that comes out about this story. Some of it is personal. Some of it is business. I want to know what you think, though. Drop a comment down below, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.